All right. Hey guys. So here is another episode of Devil's Advocate. Um Today will be hopefully a really exciting episode because a little while back, me and my friend Average Joe
Sup,
were
yo?
talking about the image of minorities. How I think it's a very important subject, and I will definitely show why I believe that. We were talking about the image that minorities and let's say in this case black people portray to the wider audience, and my friend talked about it's not that important for how you portray. Well, let me say this. What do you? I don't want to put necessary words in your mouth. Give me a good gist of what you think about the image of, let's say, black people in the wider context of the world or the community, or let's say just the US.
Um, it's been out of our control for a long time. So, um, I mean, I don't want to take a really long time and discuss everything here, but we came to the country and we were slaves. My ancestors were slaves who worked to build this country, and then um, they were not paid for their work, and then they were portrayed as lazy and stupid, um, and they called us three-fifths of a man, so animals, and they use that as an excuse to deny us our civil rights. Um, and even through today, people still think that way about black people in America. So
Yeah, so I agree that I would say this, of course, the start of Black America, Black people has it's difficult and it has affected the future. Now, where I would deviate is that I believe as time goes on that more than ever, Black culture does have the power of their image in their hands. Now, I'm not saying that there are some people who say that true, the past does affect your future. But do I believe that the past affects your future 100%? In my instance, no. I've come from an immigrant family, right? Poor, nothing special. But what you do at the end of the day, I believe I'm a person who believes in accountability. We cannot control necessarily other people nor our past, especially the past of our ancestors. But what we can control is our individual actions and how we can affect our future. Where I see that, I believe that has been a detriment to Black culture is the chain that were put on them by history, but yet the chains that Black people keep on themselves because of history. That's where I'm saying that I think that that's the problem with the general populace of Black culture, Black people, Black community is that yes, the chain have been put on you in your past, but the problem is that as Black minorities, you keep the chain on you. And what I want to do today, right, is more get your opinion where that's where I believe that Black people do have the control. Maybe not. Maybe I wouldn't say 100%, but I would say the majority of control of their public image, because I believe, and I want to say that nowadays communities are dying, and even let's say this case, Black communities are destroying themselves. They're dying, and they're just not there's just not Black communities anymore, in my opinion, because I believe as time goes on, people are more individualistic. And I believe the most important thing were minorities. Let's say the Hispanics, the Asians, and the Black people. The biggest thing of them is community, because I believe that's what the strength that helps them persevere through all the hardships that, let's say, the past has given to them. And where I want to really show that that's the problem that we are facing, especially now in the Black community. What do you? I mean, I'm going to show that we're going to get started with the video that I believe will be very important. But what do you think so far of the things I said?
I want to hear what you have to say about it. I want to see the video.
Okay. Well, okay. We could, you know what? We could just start with the video. Here is my channel. Please check it out. Please check out the other videos, Devil's Advocate. But I have a good one. I hope Addison will enjoy it. Let's see. Okay. Could you read the title out for me?
No boy.
Okay. Read the title out for me. What do you think of the title?
Do Black lives actually matter to Black people?
That's what I'm gonna. I would say that's the general topic of today, right? That's what I want to really get across. Although it's like clickbaity, but I think it's portraying what I say about my ideas. Okay. Now let's get started with the first clip. Okay. And tell me if you can hear it or not.
So you're saying police brutality is the biggest problem we have in our neighborhood? What? I'm gonna ask everybody a question, and I need everybody to answer the question direct. Wait, just need everybody to answer the question direct. How many people you know personally that got killed by cops? Personally, not on the news. Personally, I know about 4 or 5. Okay, that's cool. How many people you know? Okay, how many people you know? 2? How many people you know? How many people you know? How many people you know? None? How many people you know? 1? How many people you know? And I'm gonna ask you another question. How many people you know got killed by another Black man in your neighborhood? 7. Only 7? Stop it. Stop it. From the Bronx. Cut it out. Stop it. Cut it. You're from the Bronx, bro. Stop it. You're lying. Tell me. You're lying, bro. Tell me how many people you know. There you go. How many? How many? How many? So you're trying to tell me your leaky faucet is more important than the body in your kitchen. So let me say, stop it.
Okay. So, what do you think? I mean, did you understand were you able to hear what he said?
Yeah, so I heard what he said.
Okay. What is your thoughts?
And I kind of see the direction this is gonna go. My rebuttal, and I think this is gonna go for, I'm gonna just repeat myself, but I think this is gonna go for like just about most of the video. I will not deny that there's violence in Black communities, right?
Yeah.
But there is, of course.
Yeah.
But in America, there's violence.
Yeah.
Everywhere, right?
I agree.
There's all different types of violence.
Yes.
Gang violence is a problem. And there's gang violence in Black communities. But there's gang violence outside of Black communities too.
No. Yeah.
I'll just state this here, and we'll see if it holds true for the rest of your video. Most people who are criminals commit crimes where they live.
Yeah.
Right. It's
a fact. Yes.
It's not Black people's. It's not necessarily Black people's fault that we all live together.
That's just how communities work.
It is how communities work.
Yeah, most people they just gravitate to their own, color.
Well, a little bit of that, but it's a little more because
yeah, I do understand how history of America is. I get that.
But yeah, people commit crimes where they are. So there is crime in Black neighborhoods, but there's crime outside of Black neighborhoods too.
Yeah.
And wherever you go, the victims of those crimes are going to look like the people committing the crimes, I believe.
Okay, you're not
That doesn't mean
nothing.
that it's okay. I'm not saying that it's not a problem. I'm not saying that drug dealers on the corner isn't a problem.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just saying that I don't want to define it as a black problem because I don't think
No.
that is the truth.
Okay, so you're right. I'm not saying that crime is crime. I'm not and nothing you're saying is wrong. Here is my true rebuttal and where I wanted to go with that. The only difference, right? Let's say all communities, white communities, Asian communities, the Hispanic communities, there's crimes in them. And usually it's the people in those communities are committing the crimes against those people in the communities, correct?
Yeah.
What you said. What sticks out to me and is the clear reason why I would say that it is wrong is that what has been happening in the last few years, Black Lives Matter. Okay? How can any group of people say these lives matter when, let's say this, if you say Black Lives Matter, yet you only think Black Lives Matter when a white person kills a black person. You don't scream to the roof that when a black person kills another black person, does this not matter anymore? That's the thing I see the problem. Let's say this. I don't know about you. I do live in a predominantly black neighborhood. In the last year, maybe let's say 2, I had experienced multiple gunshots in front of where I live. I've never seen a dead body before until in the last few years. And what body did I see? It's a black young man being killed by another black man. That was horrific. I don't know about you, but I never imagined that I would see someone being carried away by police and lifeless in my life. I would not think that. And that's why the difference is that I'm not saying I'm not disparaging black people. I'm not shitting on black people, right? I'm tired of it. I don't want to see this. If Black Lives Matter, it should matter. That's the difference between all races, where you're talking about crime and no other race are coming out protesting, saying Asian lives matter, white people no one's saying that. Yet when you protest, yet you scream to the roof that your people, the people that have your same skin complexion, their lives matter, yet it only matters when a white person does it. It is the hypocrisy that I see, because I've never in my life, in real life, experienced a white person killing a black person. But it's horrific when in my real life, which the clip showed, most black people, they know other black people that has been killed by other black people more often than they would know a white person killing another black person. So what does that say? And this is not to ignore the fact that yes, police brutality happens, but how can you be so outraged when a white police officer kills a black person, and yet every day in a black person's life, they know dozens, at least maybe 2-3 people that have been killed or harmed by another person of your fellow skin complexion. And yet you don't see the hypocrisy of you not protesting that, not going out to your community and saying the craziness. That is the thing where your own people are killing other people.
No, that's traumatic, having to seeing someone die. I don't think I've ever seen somebody die in that matter. I can imagine that That's hard.
And that's why I am so. This is why, like, I'm not a black person, but I've said it before. I have black friends. I've lived in black communities most of my life. I've dated black girls. It's no one is saying it, especially in the black communities. Why are you not saying that? Why is that not a protest?
So it is. I would disagree with you if you said it's not. There's a difference. It's a big and it's an important difference. I mean, I'll illustrate it this way. This isn't 100% right, but if an outside group is doing something to your family, you're going to make some noise and tell everybody else that outside group is doing something to your family. But if something's going on inside your family, you're going to handle it within your family. Now, let me hear me out. The reason that matters is because people aren't paying attention to the black community when things like that happen. And when we are outraged because crime and violence exists in our neighborhoods and is affecting us, and we make noise about it and we protest, who would we be protesting to? What do you do in a black community to stop violence amongst your own, right? We don't necessarily trust the police, but we might ask for more police protection. Problem is, we don't know if that's safe, right? There are outreach programs that happens all the time, right? What I'm saying is people outside of our community don't get to see everything that people in the community do to try and prevent these things from happening. Just like I don't know what happens in your home when you want to handle an issue like that. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't know it, but people aren't looking. People aren't paying attention. People are barely paying attention when the violence comes from outside our community and in until we make noise. The Black Lives Matter movement happened because an outside force was coming in and hurting our people. An authority, a force of authority, right? Nationwide, police brutality is happening, right? Over imprisonment of black people is happening. Harsher sentences for the same crimes happen. I can't protest to my black brother about that. That's not his fault. That's the authority's fault. You protest because you're trying to get something from these people who are supposed to be taking care of you in your government and in your localities, who have power to do so and aren't doing it, are misusing that power. That's protest. Within the community, outreach programs to get to young people before they go astray, that happens all the time. We try to have programs in our schools to the extent that we have control of it. We try to find ways for our younger people to be employed, activities for them to do. There's tons of effort put into preventing these things because it is outrageous and it does hurt to see. But it's not something that's going to be as loud if you're on the outside looking in as George Floyd's murder by a group of police officers on Twitter in front of the country. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a difference, but I don't think that the problem is nobody's saying anything because people are saying it. People are saying it.
Here, I want to say this, right? I'm not discounting police brutality, the injustice of the criminal system. That's not my case. What I would say, right? One of black culture, and it shows me why what I say to you that I don't believe, let's say true community, the true black community, why I disagree with what, like, some of the things you said is that one of the things that's passed down through generations, whispers and all that stuff, snitches get stitches. That's a common teaching, right, within black community. And I know it because I know people who said that to me, right? And it signifies that, you know what, a lot of things, yes. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not true that, yeah, you handle it within your own community. But let me say this. what is that saying? When you do the same thing over and over again and get the exact same results, you cannot be surprised that you're getting the exact same results. I think that's the problem that we are having. Or maybe because I don't want to make it seem like, oh, I'm not black, so I'm not part of it. But I'll say as an outsider, supposed outsider, because I've said the things, I'm not trying to say credentials, but even though as an outsider, presumed outsider, looking out, I'm seeing that you're doing the exact same thing generations and generations and getting the exact same results. Handling it yourself has done nothing.
Who's going to help us? Who's helping us?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm saying, let's do it differently. Where let's actually protest it. Let's actually yell it out because I'm not saying that it works. I'm not a person who's giving out answers. I'm saying, like, if we want to band together, let's say we've seen it, right? Communities band together to protest the violence that police officers have done to the black community. We should also protest where these gun violence, these criminals, the bad criminal black people have done to your community as well.
I bet a Google search can pull up a ton of that. But all right, so let's say,
and I'm not saying that there's none. Because you're right. I know that you're saying that there's outreach programs. There's programs that's done in it, but the thing is, the difference why I say it, right? I believe that when because like we've seen it with our own eyes. In the last few years with, let's say, the Black Lives Movement, it's been so big and outreach, and like it's part of the social vernacular, right? Because it's spread that information that Black Lives Matter stuff. It's spread to, let's say, celebrities. Let's say even the common person says it. Even white people, white kids, they're saying it. They're things like that. That's what I'm saying. Where the voice was being heard. I'm just saying that let's not just stick. I'm just saying let's not just stick to white people having violence against black people, because of course that's a big thing. I'm not downplaying that, but let's think that because you said it, most crime that happens in the community is from people within that community. And that's the problem we are also ignoring. Letting your community handle that stuff. Generations have done that. So really, it has not panned out.
If you're a black person in America, right? All right. I got to take it step by step. First, the Black Lives Matter movement. What do you think Black Lives Matters? What do you think that means? Like, what do you think that statement means?
It means that black lives also matter, just like any other lives. They matter.
You get okay. So you get it. Black lives matter too. Black lives also matter. Black lives matter as much as a white life.
Correct.
Or anybody else's life, right?
Correct.
Right? So my point is, the problems you're describing are. I'm not saying they're not problems. I'm not saying they're not problems that should be addressed urgently. I'm saying that they're human problems, not black problems. That's what I'm saying. And there's a difference. And it matters here. It matters here because here's a thing I hear all the time. What's the deal with black on black crime?
Mm-hmm.
I remember not knowing what to say to one of my coworkers one day when they asked me about that. They was like, why do you guys kill yourselves? Kill each other? And I went home and I thought about it. I was like, it's terrible that happens. But the majority of crime in America, and not because of color, but the majority of crime in America is committed by white people. Well, and the majority but I'm making a point. And the majority of the victims are white persons.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is not to say that white people have a problem, but why don't we ever talk about white people that way? Why do we always say, why is black on black crime a phrase even and not white on white crime? Right? Crime is a human problem.
Yeah.
It's not it's the color of my skin doesn't dictate whether or not I'm going to be a criminal.
Correct.
And
Correct.
and I can't do any. I'm not going to stand here and say that there aren't black people who are criminals. I can't do anything about that. They're going to be criminals. There's going to be black criminals just like there's going to be white criminals. And
Yes.
because we live together, I'm potentially a victim of I could potentially be a victim of a black criminal.
Yeah.
Now, so I don't think it's something that you should see it and be like, what's the deal with these black people killing each other? Because that's not seeing the real problem.
No, I agree.
But when it comes to trying to solve that problem, black people as a whole do have an additional problem on top of that. Because we're viewed as violent, we're over-policed and improperly policed and over-prisoned. And oftentimes there are other factors that we can list, like the likelihood of getting a job if you have the same qualifications as a person of another color, but you're black, right? Makes it harder for young people to make a living. And so do they try to go and get honest work? Or are they more willing to do things that, that aren't good for them? There's a lot of other factors that contribute to the crime and contribute to the culture of not wanting to get other people's help, because oftentimes other people don't help. Right? When we do ask for it, it's a fight to get it. That's where Black Lives Matter came from, right? We were like, hey, look, we're being over-policed, we're being violently policed, and people who are unarmed and not posing a threat are getting killed by the people who are supposed to be protecting us. If I think I'm going to get shot by a cop for speeding, why would I trust a police officer to help me? I remember a family dispute we had in our house between my father and his sisters. And I'm not going to go into much detail about it, but it didn't get violent, but they got loud with each other. There's an argument. That happens with families. It doesn't have anything to do with, color or anything. But one of my dad's sisters called the police. Right. So they came and they were fine. We didn't have a problem or anything. My dad talked to them. Everything was straightened out. But when they left, my dad told my sister off. Told his sister off because he said, I have 3 young black men in my house.
Yeah.
And if any of them had blanked wrong, this little spat that you caused could have ended in one of them losing their lives. Now, what does that illustrate? That we don't trust the people who are supposed to protect us. So I can't really go to them to say, hey, we need help in our community, because they're causing problems in our community too. So we're in this. It's tough. You see what I'm saying? It's tough.
I agree, right? But I also say this. It is a cycle that no one is breaking. I do not fault the distrust of police, because they've done it. They don't facilitate the trust in their community. I 100% agree. But I also say that I don't know about you, but I've seen it where we also, black people, black communities, teach their children to actually disrespect and automatically distrust police. And I do understand why, but it's a cycle that if both sides are fighting each other, and every generation, every new cop, every new generation of black people continue fighting each other, it will never end. But I'm not saying that I know the answer. I'm just saying that I'm seeing when you could see the disease and you don't know what to say, you don't know what to do. It's just you see that disease, and it's just.
I mean, bro, I see it too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't live in a bad neighborhood, but I have lived in bad neighborhoods.
And you know what? That's the thing. Let me say this, right? I don't live. I mean, I've lived in my neighborhood for almost 10 years. And I never thought it was bad. I can tell you this. I think maybe about last year, in the years that I've lived here, it's the first time I see police barricade a block because of shootings. And that depressed me. Because, and I can tell you this, my community is predominantly black. So what am I thinking? It's a black person either, I don't know, playing with a gun or shooting another black person. And that depressed me. But you know what? We could continue this forever, but there's still more because I want to really reiterate that this is a problem of someone has to make the change. And to be honest, I'm saying this, right? It's a hard process, but I believe to make the change is, and I know people will disagree with me, right? Because why should they do it? But I believe black people should make that change to show everybody. That's why I said about public image, to show everyone that, you know what? I'm not the criminal that you perceive I am. I'm better or just as good as any other race. But I know that's an uphill battle, and people will say, why would they have to be the one to fix other people's images? But I want to continue and why I believe what I believe. But let's just continue. All right. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. This is not a funny TikTok. This is some serious shit. So listen up, okay? So any of you that don't know, the Walmart on 83rd and Stewart in Chicago is officially closing as of May 15th. That's only like 2.5 weeks away. Okay? That's only 2.5 weeks away. So what really saddens me about this is that this Walmart was built in a predominantly black neighborhood. This is probably about the only major resources as far as like shopping and access to groceries and access to pharmacy within a 10 block, maybe even a 10-mile radius. And what's really sad to me is how us black folks, we done stole and robbed ourselves out of a fucking resource that even the elderly people of this community will not even be able to have access to. I'm ashamed and I'm saddened because black folks, we are so quick to always say, well, this person is not doing this and the white man this and the white man that. We blame everybody else for our shit. But then when we are tapped out of resources in our own community, we don't ever want to look at ourselves and point the finger back at ourselves and say, okay, I think maybe we fucked up. Maybe we shouldn't have been going in there stealing TVs and going in there stealing electronics and all this other shit. Because one thing about these white folks and these major corporations, they're all about money. So they don't care nothing about making sure we have resources in our neighborhoods. And this is how they gentrify our neighborhoods. Because when you're taking and you're stealing and you're burning down and destructing your own community, this gives them the opportunity to come into our communities and take the shit and build what they want. So because this Walmart is going to be an empty building, don't be surprised when they throw a Whole Foods over here, and then next thing you know, all of these apartments and all of these housings, I guess, for people that need to be able to afford housing, all this shit is going to start dissipating. We need to do better. I could just imagine all the elderly people that had to get their medicine and medication from the pharmacy department here can no longer have access to that after May 15th. And what's even more sad, all the Walmart workers here, honest black folk that got up every day to come here and make an earnest living, after like mid-August, Walmart is going to cut them off their fucking payroll and they will no longer have a job. They got to find a Walmart to rehouse themselves because corporate is not going to fucking do it. So you took jobs out of the black community and you took resources from everybody here that really needed it. What the fuck, Chicago?
Please, Paul.
I don't. Okay, I don't know if you paid attention to the news or current events. Chicago is a shit show right now. Within, I think this week, maybe last week, but within this week, Chicago has been a shit show. And many other cities, within that area has been a shit show as well. Now, we can say whatever about big corporations, but like the lady said, end of the day, people still shop there for their needs, of whatever needs, and people work there. Guess what the people are shopping there look like, and guess what the people working there look like. Let's take away the supposedly victimless crime of stealing is. But when you mass steal and mass destroy from supposedly these big corporations, you obviously don't see the ramifications of your actions. Because at the end of the day, she's right. What corporation wants to be somewhere and they're just losing money? So fine, who cares? We lost Walmart, Target. Who cares about those, right? But at the end of the day, that's what I'm saying. Let's not say even let's say we're not killing black people. When I see stuff like that, do black lives actually matter to black people? Because your actions is affecting other black lives. Now you just pretty much made dozens of people, maybe hundreds, lose work. And now you just made hundreds, dozens of people lose a place to buy essentials, their food, the medicine, their clothes. I get it. Money going to big corporations is one thing, but at the end of the day, you're not thinking about the little people, the common people, average people, everyday people. They don't care about if Target makes millions. They don't. They care about bringing food to their families, bringing clothes to their families, bringing medicines to their grandparents or their kids, or making a paycheck, because they're average people making a paycheck every other week, every week, to bring home to help feed their kids and pay their rent and pay their bills. When you pretty much destroy these companies, thinking that, oh, fuck it, they're big companies, right? Who cares? No, then you obviously don't see the ramifications of your actions. And then how could you in turn say Black Lives Matter when you, as a black person, are ruining other black people's lives, your community, right? Even what we talked about, these outreach programs, or let's say, crime happened to. These are things that supposedly people think are victimless crimes. That's what I'm saying. What are we teaching? The morals. We're not and what are we portraying? I don't know, have you seen, but I've seen rampant videos of people recording other people blatantly stealing dozens of whatever, anything you name it, dozens of things, just walking out like it's nothing, showing their face like they don't give a shit. And then you think that, oh, no one's gonna hurt from this. And then I see this as this. That's right. This woman is 100% right that we are doing this. There's not a such thing as a victimless crime. And then when you do it within your community, how can you live by saying Black Lives Matter when actually shit like this, does it matter? Does it really matter?
So, to the people committing those crimes, who are stealing from stores and who aren't thinking about the other people that they're affecting, you're right. They need to get their stuff together. And that hurts to see, because especially as a Black person, I don't want to see other Black people hurt each other, because we have enough to deal with without doing that to each other.
Yeah, and that's the thing. You said it perfect. I mean, that's the thing where, right? If it was, let's say this, if it was mainly white people, white cops, killing, hurting Black people, I'm saying it. You're right. That's the biggest problem in Black people's community. But when you take a step back, that's not even white on Black crime. It's not even the biggest thing that's happening or that's destroying Black communities.
But does that mean? So I agree that the crime shouldn't happen, and we should find a way to stop that. But does that mean that you also, that until it stops, you can't talk about the other things that are happening?
No, that's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm saying. Yeah.
That doesn't. So two things can be true.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean?
So, two things can be true.
So and the only, I agree with just about everything you said. I just don't want people to use that as an excuse to say, well, they look at that example and say those people as a whole aren't helping themselves, so we're not going to help.
Yeah, I'm not going to say that.
Because but what happens is people use, that's why I'm sensitive to it. Like people use that as an excuse to not help. You know what I mean? People use that as an excuse to ignore the things we're shouting to the rooftops. For every bad example you can come up with of like crime in a community, of young people out of control doing things like robbing a Walmart, I can show you something positive. Positive things don't get as much. People aren't looking at the positive things and saying, "Oh, look at this great group of people." Think about, I'm not trying to make this political. Colin Kaepernick got on his knees to protest police brutality. He did it the most respectful way he could, right? And got blackballed, got called all sorts of names, lost his job as an NFL quarterback. Used outside of the NFL, no longer as an NFL quarterback, used his own resources, the money he made from his endorsements and everything, to build multiple charities and promote the safety and health and education of Black people, specifically Black men, in various communities across the country, including Chicago and Philadelphia and San Francisco, where he played at, right? And the reason I bring that up is because you don't hear about it. I mean, if I say Colin Kaepernick's name, a whole bunch of people who aren't Black would get upset just at his mention. But he's literally out here doing positive things, and not alone, because he's got a lot of help from the Black community who works for his charities and who advertise what he's doing. There's the Netflix documentary about all the work that he's put into that. And nobody's looking at those positive examples and saying, oh, here's the people worth helping because they're helping themselves. That's what I mean by inequality. I'm not denying that these terrible things are happening and shouldn't be happening, but it upsets me when people don't give it the proper weight, because these same things happen in other communities and we don't look at them and say, well, there's a whole group of people that aren't worth helping. Because think about how often there's a school shooting and how many times the person is a certain color and the victims are the same color. And we all are like, here's what we should do about it. And they don't do anything about it. Right? But the conversation is never, look at these white people destroying their own community. That's never the conversation. Right? So Black people should really think about how to preserve their community and how to educate and empower young people to do things other than commit crimes and find other ways to be helpful and positive and get their own without stealing, and think about who they're hurting when they do terrible things. But also, we shouldn't be looking at these examples and saying, well, Black lives must not matter.
No, I would say this, right? Let me say this.
Yeah. That's in my opinion. That's what I worry about.
No, I would never say, let's look at this and then Black lives don't matter. No, I would say, let's look at this and say, we are not doing enough, because Black lives matter across the board, right? Lives matter across the board. We're not doing enough, right? I'm not saying that, okay, Black Lives Matter popped up because of white cops abusing, black citizens. That is amazing. You should scream it to the roof. Let's add on to it. Our communities are being destroyed by criminals, right? That we shouldn't be doing. I don't care what color they are. These criminals are destroying our communities. They are killing our sons. They're killing our fathers. They're killing our brothers, whatever. That's what I'm saying. Push it. There's not just one problem in our in black community. Where it's such a multifaceted problem that, again, you said it. There could be two things can be true at once, and it is true. Again, the system is terrible. No false about that. But we cannot be blinded by I believe like the propaganda and like, okay, let's just focus on what cops do to us. No, because then you're just blind, because then you're using it as a scapegoat. I believe you're using that as an scapegoat, so you can ignore the problems that are also simultaneously facing the community. Just like if you don't know, right, where in Chicago, the liberal Democratic mayor blamed Walmart for what's happening. How can you blame Walmart, Target, any corporation for leaving the community when there's crime happening and you're not doing nothing about it? So they blame Walmart because that's a scapegoat. You're not sitting in a point where your people have an epidemic of criminals and you're not going after it with severe consequences. Because I don't know if you heard, but they've also lowered the penalty, so you don't really get cops don't really go after you for theft. So of course people are going like, okay, you know what? Hell, if it's lawless, I'm going to be a criminal. But that's also the thing where I wish Black Lives Matter as a group, as a movement, see that we have to step in. No, you're wrong in thinking that that's right, a right law or whatever it is. No, these are criminals. We have to push, like, these are the faces that committed these crimes. They have to go to jail. Shit, like, I mean, like, that's what I'm saying, where you take a step where you have to fight back against things that are detrimental to your community, no matter what color they are. If they are poison, they have to be, cured.
It's
what I'm saying.
a complex and it's a huge problem.
It is.
So,
but that's the thing where I want people to talk about it, right? We can't be shy about it because, okay, it's our community or it's Black people community, so let's not try to hurt our community by giving it back. No, we want to take out this poison and because, like, I believe if Black people stand up to the ugliness that's affecting their community, they will show that, no, this is not our community. We don't want this. Criminality, the image of violence, that's not what we want. The image of being a criminal, that's not what we want as a community. I believe as time went on, and I don't know whether you believe it or not, but I believe Black communities are dying. There's no more communities. They're more individualistic than ever. And I'll say this throughout all communities, right? People more think about themselves more than ever. Not caring about family and not caring about your community. Because you think about this. I don't know back in the day, but I know, let's say, because again, I've lived in a Black community. Black people or criminals don't go after elderly and children. But nowadays, I'm seeing them doing that. The rules are gone. Old school rules, old school street rules, they're gone. Now, hell with that. I'm gonna beat on the elderly and I'm gonna kill the children. They don't care. I've seen that within the community, and that's what I'm saying. Where these movements need to actually fight multiple problems. Not just one. Go after multiple problems to actually show that these lives do matter, and not just because it's a white person doing it. It's because it matters. Period. That's one thing. But yeah, I mean, let's continue with to hit home more of the destruction and chaos.
Hundreds of teens flooding into downtown Chicago tonight, smashing car windows, trying to get into Millennium Park, prompting a major police response. Within the past few minutes, shots were fired near the corner of Madison and Michigan. Now, we had a news crew on the scene, but they had to move because of safety concerns. I was there a little bit earlier, about an hour and a half ago, and saw police escorting tourists and visitors to their cars in the Millennium Park parking garage. The crowd was trying to get into Millennium Park, but there are checkpoints that are not allowing anyone under the age of 21 who's not with an adult to get in. So they're massing across the street on the other side of Michigan Avenue. I spoke to a woman whose car was smashed by people jumping on the windshield. She says the crowd began beating her husband as he sat in the driver's seat. He's now been sent to Northwestern Memorial Hospital. I also talked to a woman, a Chicago native, who was appalled by what she saw.
That's probably a little different, to be honest with you. I'm appalled at what I see. I'm from Chicago, and I understand kids having a good time, but it's definitely bad parenting. Kids do better as parents. Our kids should not be out here. Where are their parents at? That's my question.
The situation continues to develop at this hour. As we mentioned, we have a reporter on the scene, but there are some security concerns. Fox 32's Nate Rogers is on Michigan Avenue in a protective position. Nate, can you tell us what you see right now?
Yeah, that's right, Dane. As you just mentioned, we're downtown on Michigan and Randolph. I'm actually probably a block away from a lot of where the chaos has originated. Right now, Chicago police are trying to clear Michigan Avenue, at least from Randolph until maybe 3 or 4 blocks south on medics and Chicago SWAT teams all assisting in this investigation. Now, the chaos here downtown began or erupted just before 8 p.m. Several hundred young people traveling in groups, kids seen jumping barricades into Millennium Park, also jumping on top of cars. Other reports indicated large groups trying to force their way into the Art Institute. This appears to be one of those teen takeovers that we saw last year, publicized widely on social media, attracting thousands into the downtown area as well as to Chicago area beaches. The teens are seen with their cell phones out, Bluetooth music speakers blasting, dancing while recording videos, hoping that they'll go viral. Now, I'm back out here live really just within the last 10 minutes or so ago.
We get the gist. That's what I'm saying, where it is the problem where it's the thing where we're not teaching the next generation. And that's what I'm saying, where I said before, where it's a cycle. We don't care about the next generation. So that's going to happen again. We think that we want to be chained by the past, so the next generation will also be chained, and so on and so on. We're not fighting past it. Teaching, again, why are kids out at night like that? They shouldn't. No teen. it's like, oh, look, I didn't like the girl saying, oh, I understand kids don't have fun. No, no, kids don't have fun just going out at late at night and doing this. No, they're not adults. That's the thing where no structure. Like they said, going viral. The internet has been a detriment to younger generations, I believe. Not like where me and you, we grew up at the beginning of the internet, So that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm seeing that. That's the problem where we have, let's say, again, these movements where we should be also going to people. And these conversations these topics I'm gonna say is like maybe a bigger conversation, but again, Black Lives thing where we have movements where we should teach community to people, teach family, because I can say this, I bet you most of those families are fatherless families. I mean, statistically, they're probably a lot of fatherless families. And again, that is not a family. That's a broken home. Single motherhood, I'm sorry, in the Black community has been a detriment to the Black community because you destroyed the nuclear family, in turn destroyed communities, because communities are built on the foundations of multiple families. Now your communities are built on women and children, that's a detriment, and that doesn't build the communities.
Agreed. But that there's more than one factor that caused that to happen, right? So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I said that this could be a larger conversation. This part I said, but I'm saying like this is what I'm saying where we're not doing enough, right? To let's say these outreach stuff where we're not affecting enough. Where that's what I'm saying where I want to these protests because like yeah, I hate these modern day protests with these kids things. They're stupid. They're absolutely stupid. The protests that we seen last time with the Black Lives Matter, with all these protests around the U.S. like I guess 2 years ago that we had in Philly too. It's not protest, it's rioting, it's destruction because you're not affecting change, right? You're not affecting change. You are kids just wanting to supposedly be, controversial, be part of this movement when you're part of the problem because you're just affecting the image of your community. You're just showing, like I said, these kids are, and that's why I said where I believe the importance of image of your community. They are pretty much showing the image of the community as just terrible, and I think it's a detriment.
I'm not in favor of like violent protests or or rioting, but when what happened around George Floyd murder happened. It came right after I think Breonna Taylor was like
no, it was a good. There's a lot of things that were happening. So
right.
I understood it.
And prior to that, and a couple times after, when those incidents would happen, there might be a charge of an officer who shot somebody unarmed might be charged with something, would go before a grand jury and then get dismissed, and they would say he didn't do anything wrong, right? That happened over, and I'm not bringing this up to have that discussion. What I'm saying is, you get to a certain point where people get so angry, they're going to stop being peaceful. So a lot of people stop being peaceful, and follow me here. What happened to the police officers involved in George Floyd's death?
Were they prosecuted?
The one who put his knee on his neck and killed him is in jail.
Okay.
And the other 4 who stood and watched, I don't know if they've gotten prison time yet. They were all charged with.
Yeah, but they were probably affected. Yeah, something happened.
And more often since, there have been actual prosecutions and officers who are facing jail time. The people involved in Ahmaud Arbery's death are going to jail, right? Some change was affected, and it's a shame that it took so much of the country going out of control with rage or anger or just being crazy, that the actual structure of some parts of the country had to fall apart before authorities did something about the people they had policing our neighborhood. So while I hear you, I don't want to see violent, out of control protests either. Peaceful protests recently hasn't gotten anywhere. Think think of how hard Black people protested peacefully in the late 50s and early 60s just to get the right to use the same bathroom as somebody else, right? And think of the prices they paid for peaceful protests. People were killed violently, right? Injured, fire hosed, right? Think of how out of control mobs got that were not Black when a Black girl was admitted to a white school, or a group of Black girls was admitted to a white school, right? And think of how angry a mob got that wasn't Black when Donald Trump lost the election, and people didn't like that certain cities were mandating you had to wear a mask because of COVID. So they tried to overthrow the Capitol. The point I'm making is, again, it's a problem, and I don't want to see this problem in the Black communities, but it's not a Black person problem.
No, I was just saying, like, you know what, kids.
Yeah.
Doing, destruction is never.
Although they weren't those weren't kids in January 6th, right?
Yeah, those things, like, I would say, like, you know what, this, the one that was in Philadelphia, when that supposed protest, those were kids.
Yeah.
And it's just more like, again, I'm not saying that, yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do to affect change. There's no denying that. I'm more saying that, like, I believe sometimes you do things to affect change, and sometimes you do it just to be dangerous and destructive. And I believe that it's happening more and more in, like, let's say these cities, because like Chicago is happening, things like that, where you're not doing it to protest nothing. You're doing it to, like I said before, I think the internet is a dangerous thing for children right now, because, like they were saying, I bet you they're doing it to record and publish, put all this stuff to go viral on the internet, and that's a danger for kids right now. But that's the thing where I said, like, where I'm saying is the problem, where we're not helping our communities. We're not teaching our communities. You should not do. Your kids should be controlled. You should be controlled. Your kids, where they're not out, because, like, I would not have my kids out there at night doing that shit. I don't care how their friends are pressuring them. And they are parents that, like, oh, go ahead. Is your friend going out? Good, go ahead, go have fun. This is the thing what I'm saying.
So, and I don't disagree with you there. And it's a shame that, like, you have, and I don't just think it's our generation not teaching the next generation. I do think part of it is the previous generation not doing a good enough job with our generation, right? Because
I think it's a generational thing.
Yeah,
I think it's continued. It's a curse it's getting passed down. This is what I'm saying. But you think of this, as it gets passed down, it gets thinner, right? So it gets worse each generation. Like I was saying before, where back in our day, even on the streets, we know, let's not mess with kids, let's not mess with the elderly. Well, I'm seeing that more and more happening. So really, things are going to get worse before Well, they're just gonna get worse. I don't know if they're gonna get better. So that's what I'm saying. As generations goes on, it's not getting better. It's getting worse.
Like to say, it's a shame that the situation is you've got younger parents, and with and fewer instances of children born into a family that's whole. You've got a lot of people in situations where, like you said, single mothers. I wouldn't blame a mother. I wouldn't necessarily, unless they're completely irresponsible, I wouldn't blame a mother necessarily for all of her children's bad behavior. But it's hard to be the only parent and doing double duty. You have to support your family and raise them. And when you're at work, you can't be at home. You're going to be in one place at one time.
Okay. I want to let's stop with that because I mean let's stop with that part because I definitely in a future episode we're gonna go deep into single motherhood.
Okay.
And we're gonna really fire on all sides of that because I have a lot of things I want to say with that. Okay. And I think single motherhood is the most detrimental things to happen to, let's say, Black communities since slavery. Be sure to know that.
Wow, bull.
Yeah, but okay. I want to. Do you think you have time for a little bit more?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a part 2, right? That will coincide with this. I want you to read the title. Could you see the title?
I see the title. I
read it.
Black lives actually don't matter to Black people.
Okay, that will be that's the sub because that one was a question. Do they? Now this one is like, you know what? I think they don't. Let's go. Let's get started. Now, wait. Before I continue, that one was people just eating food in Walmart and just for free and not caring, you know. And like I was saying, right? The internet, you want to go viral. That's what I'm saying. The detriment of the internet. You're doing wild shit just to hopefully go viral, but being criminals and being stupid that's the thing to go viral. And again, that's the detriment to society right now. But let's continue. And that's not a sale. They're not doing that for a sale. It ain't Black Friday. Definitely a lot of black. Ain't Black Friday. I do see a little white kid.
Every grocery store looks like this. Everything is either on the floor. Look at this. Can't even get no fucking food for my kids, G. Look at this. Came in the store to try to buy something. I'm not a thief. Look at this. In my hood, can't even get no food for my kids. Babies need milk. Can't even get nothing for my kids, bro. I feel like an animal, and Black people made me feel like an animal. Y'all did this to us. Look at this. Look at this. Look at the store. Look at this. But this is what we're fighting for. This is honoring George Floyd. People who already couldn't feed their kids, now they really can't feed their kids. Look at this. I am so devastated right now. I am so devastated right now, G. This is not okay. For us to have to live like this, we do stupid shit like this all the time. And we so Black proud. We so Black and proud that we ain't gonna never be honest and be real about what's really going on. Y'all are so wrong for this. You came in your neighborhood and fucked up your shit. I'm not a thief. I'm not coming in this store and stealing nothing. And ain't nobody gonna turn me into no animal or make me feel like a thief. Y'all let them white folks send y'all off once again. Look at all this shit on the floor. Look at all this on the floor. Everything. Everything's on the floor. Tissue. We couldn't even find tissue less than 2 months ago, and now it's on the floor. Look at it. Meanwhile, we got plenty of fruits and vegetables. I'm not gonna pick through this shit.
It's crazy.
She said it, right? How do you honor the death or the creation of a movement to signify the importance of Black lives when in turn you don't care? Because like I said, if a white person does it, if a cop does it, you take notice. But when you are destroying your own community, you don't even think about the ramifications it can do to multiple Black people. You're destroying your community. I'm sorry. One George Floyd does not equal, let's say, 30, 40, 50 Black people who now cannot, first of all, can't shop there. Second of all, lost their jobs. So really, I believe the difference, the scale outweighs the other. Where I said that before, right? Where I'm saying that two facts can be true. It was great that you had to try to fight the system about what's happening to Black people in the justice system, in the treatment between cops and citizens. 100% true. Yet, again, it's a movement this is not like a movement that says Black Lives Matter should matter to cops. Some shit like that. You know? That's not what the movement is called. Right? I live by that movement, the name of that movement completely. When I say Black Lives Matter, I mean totality. In totality. Right? They're not like, okay, Black Lives Matter in this situation, not the other ones. No, it don't matter in the other ones. Only in this one, not the other ones. No. That's what I'm saying where I want to, why I make these videos is exactly that, where I want to say that I believe in, if you believe it matters, that Black Lives Matter, you should believe it in any situation. I would not go out and steal and destroy my community and not think, oh, what's going to happen to my community? Because I'm not going to be selfish, right? This is a generation of such unbelievable selfishness, and that's why I say that communities are dying or pretty much non-existent anymore, because selfishness has utterly destroyed our community. So we only get together when a white person does something, but when a Black person does something to our community, let's handle it internally. But that doesn't work. That has not worked for generations. So really, I make these videos because I want to at least not be compliant to the disease that's happening to our communities. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to affect change. I'm nobody. My name says it all. I'm no one special. But again, we have too many people compliant, ignorant, don't care what happens to our communities. Well, when that happens, it's only going to spur more, whatever's not caring until we have places like Chicago. I believe other places. I think New York was having. I don't know about you. I just recently saw a video in Philly of people doing that exact same thing at a Target in Philly. That's the disease. That's what I'm saying. That's the disease when we don't care because, hey, it's in Chicago. It's not happening to this community. So, okay. Disease spreads. when we are compliant, when we don't care, when we ignore, when we're just like, let's just think about myself. It is a disease that will spread.
So that was depressing to see. And it's awful anytime that happens. I never want to see it. And I mean, we've already said it. We do have a large part of young people in our communities who they follow the wrong people.
I mean, what's terrible in that video? I'm pretty sure some of them are older.
They're anxious about going viral. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty awful. I mean, if your point in making the videos to remind people that if Black Lives Matter to you, then they should matter all the time, and that your actions should show that, I agree. I'm still gonna, what I said before though still stands.
Well, I mean, like I said, I agree with you. Two facts can be true. There's no denying that. It's just that
don't just frame it though as and you know what, we're going to talk about this some more too when we later on when we go into some other videos, because I think I think we're starting to get to the heart of like where we agree on a lot. We agree. I'm serious. Yeah, I agree with you about. I feel the same way about what we saw, but the way it. But then when you present it to others in the media, like when you see a video like that, and those people need to need to be held accountable for what they did. Which I don't know how you're going to do that unless you can pinpoint every one of those people you saw in the video.
no,
that sucks. And to the extent that we have the power to, we need to influence people in our lives.
But you know what? But that's what I'm gonna say, right? That's the thing where I want to say that it's Black Lives Matter. It's the group where I say like you see these Black people supposedly, I don't know, leaders in Black communities and stuff like that. They can scream to the top of their lungs when it's a police officer, right? But I'm saying, like, do they go within their community? I believe if, let's say this, hypothetically, if I was a leader in a Black Lives movement, I would have gone to my communities and fuck it. I'm going to be snitching. There's no snitches because, like, I don't give a shit. Because, again, I'm going to say this bull was in that video stealing. He should be prosecuted. That's something where I'm saying, like, there's a detriment where if I think that a police officer should not be killing my brothers and sisters, I'm going to believe also my brothers and sisters should not be killing nor destroying my community as well. That's what I'm saying. I repeat it over again. Two facts can be true, but the problem is that one fact is being pushed under the rug, or not. Maybe not pushed under the rug, but not more of a concern, equally, or maybe even more of a concern, because I believe one affects community a whole lot more than the other. And it's not about, it doesn't affect the community at all because police shootings is effective. But like I said, the scale, let's say, like I said, that the scale of that, whether it's supposedly no one died, but it's not a victimless crime, and it's a crime that affects a whole lot more. That's what I'm saying. So not just the workers, but the people who shops there.
But let's look at you know how I feel about that, right? You know, I wouldn't do anything like that. No. You know, I wouldn't. You know, I don't approve of it. And you know that those people who are suffering because of those actions, people who lost their jobs because they ransacked a Walmart and now the store's not open anymore, and people who are who can't get their food or their medicine or things they need because there's no store in their community to shop anymore. You know how they feel about it. They're upset too. I don't think it's true that people in our communities aren't saying anything. I think they are. But I think you've got such a multifaceted problem. They're looking at the surface and saying, look at all these black people acting out. What's wrong with them? They don't care about black lives. I'm not saying that they're acting like they do, but what I am saying is that you show me a problem that you show me people need to be held accountable, and yeah, we should go snitch and tell the police on them. Don't snitch isn't just a black thing. It's a people thing. And where it's most detrimental is in the police force, right?
No, okay, I'm not saying that's not true.
But here's how, because we were talking about how when you commit a crime or you do something, there are victims. There's no such thing as a victimless crime, right? Police who don't snitch on other police allow bad policing to continue, right?
Here, wait. Let me say this. Where I think you bring a lot back to the police, right?
But you see,
no, I do see it. But I'm gonna tell you this, right? Don't make it think that I think police are nowadays like a gang, like a gang. I agree. So I don't take any accountability away from police officers because really they're like a gang, a brotherhood where it don't matter what race you are. You're supposedly from a weird code. Yeah, I don't like police. That's not even the thing. What I'm saying. Again,
but you see the problem that presents.
No,
because
I
now,
do.
Because now I'm supposed to snitch on people who I know committed crime. Let's just say, take me for example. Who am I gonna tell? That's like going from one gang to tell the other gang. You see what I'm saying?
I mean, it's a multifaceted.
And even if you're, let's say you're a good police officer, you're a detective who wants to actually do positive things, right? But because of what's going on around you, people don't trust you, so nobody talks to you. You see, so that culture or code where people don't snitch, that didn't just come out of the blue, and it's not just something that it's not something that my parents taught me. My parents were
I'm saying a community as a whole, not just. I know.
Although what you do learn in the community, it's not so much. I won't say so much. Don't snitch, but mind your business, and that's not always helpful. But there's always a chance that you could lose your life when you find. You know what I mean? And that's all.
I know.
But that's what I mean when I say there's a lot of factors. I don't know if there's going to be a solution. The only thing I can tell you now is that if, to the extent that we can, we should teach them, especially young people, how to make good decisions on their own. How to make decisions.
To be honest, is like I said. I mean, we're both nobodies, right? I think the problem is, right, we don't have enough people having these conversations where there is an epidemic and that we need change, right? It's not just, and we need changes that, you know what, is actually there has to be accountability. I think there's change because why I say this, right? Why I'm talking about this thing where I think there's a problem where if you say Black Lives Matters, you should put it across the board. That's why I'm saying the things where I have to say it because no one else is saying it. Because I 100% agree, Black Lives Matter. And it matters in totality. In any situations, it matters, right? So let's portray that. And I think that that's the problem where we have people just not thinking about that. Where, okay, if you think Black Lives Matter, then you should be part of these discussions where you condemn this stuff, where you should be pointing fingers, where you should be going back to communities like these. You should be going to Chicago and saying that, no, it's not Walmart's fault that people are coming there and stealing that shit. It's not Walmart's fault that people are breaking into Walmart. They break into Walmart to steal shit. It's not Walmart's fault that. No, it's our community that is being destructive to itself. I'm gonna be blunt about it. It's our community of Black people not thinking about other Black people, good citizens, good paid taxpayers, good non-criminal citizens, and that's the problem where we have to hold people accountable and be blunt about it, like be straight about it. I believe Black Lives Matter, so I'm going to say that no, that's not right because you are destroying other Black lives, and that's why I'm saying like that's the thing where I don't have solutions, but you know the thing is that the problem is that we're not bringing these talking points, these conversations to the forefront. Where you know what I would say this, why I say the problem is that I do believe that we have to. I'm not necessarily saying, but I believe Black people have to control and want to control their public image, right? Because that's what I'm saying. Where let's talk about it. Let's be in the forefront of these discussions. Where you know what, and why I want you to also be a talking head to these discussions. Where you know what, yeah, there are good Black people, and these images are disgusting, and where you know what, I don't want this to be an image that is represented of Black people, because like you said it too, the showing of violence, the showing of criminal, I don't want that. But I'm sorry, you don't see Asian people doing that, you know, and you don't necessarily. I'm not saying white people are kind of terrible too, but I mean, you don't see in mass white people doing that like that, and they know that like we got to control our image, and I believe that, and the things that let's not compare. I did compare it, but
see it. I yeah. So we're at a point where we differ a little bit now because I don't want to see what we just saw happen either. I don't want that to be an image that makes people think all Black people are like that. That's not good. Yeah. That's not true.
Yeah.
But also when something like that does happen in a Black community, they blast it all over the news. The videos go viral and everybody talks about what's wrong with Black people. When something like that happens and it's not in the Black community, you don't hear about it, but it happens. So I guess my point is I hear you about caring about our public image, but since we've gotten here, we've been trying to correct our public image, and the deck is still stacked. I mean,
let me be honest, right?
But that will get so much attention. You know what I mean? If I go out and do something obscene in another neighborhood, it's going to get so much attention, and suddenly my bad behavior represents everyone, right? And it's not the other way around, which is what's frustrating to me. Which is why I say, well, you got to throw your hands up at some point, because I can do everything I can, or a group of people can do everything they can to try to keep bad things from happening in their community. But say you do a great job 90% of the time, but the 10% gets blasted to the world, right? And now it's like, oh, you've got a terrible image. Don't you guys care about your image? But you don't see the people who are working hard to try to keep that clean. So yes, we don't want that to be an image that represents Black people. We don't want young people in our communities acting out like we just saw. We don't want Chicago and Philadelphia. No,
I'm really hoping that it's not gonna get bigger, but I'm scared.
Right. But also, I mean, do you believe that nothing good ever happens in Chicago? That because if you watch the news, I would, but there's got to be plenty of people there who are just upset as we are, or more upset because they live there, about what's going on and trying to do something about it. Positive.
I would say that I believe that it's because up and down. I think I'm saying this, right? in recent years, Chicago is going to be a shit show, and I think it's going to get worse before it gets better, because I don't know about you, but even their leadership is shitty. Their leadership is shitty. So when you have terrible leadership, what do you expect your people to be like? I'm saying, like, it's a reflection. That's what I'm saying. Like, right? I want to go full force backward or full cycle. Why I bring up, Black Lives Matter? I'm talking about I'm not talking about the phrase, right? I'm not necessarily just talking about the phrase. I'm talking about the movement, the leadership, the people at the head. Because let's say this, the mayor of Chicago is doing a shitty ass job, blaming corporation, but not having laws that will actually rectify these situations. You're a terrible leader. You're not going at the root of the problem. You're blaming something that's not the problem. So really, of course, you're not making effective changes. You're actually facilitating these destruction, right? And that's the problem, where I'm talking about the leadership. I'm talking about, okay, you have this movement, Black Lives Matter. Well, if I was, like I said before, if I was a leader, I'm going to do things that are more effective of changes. Not just, I'm talking about, hell, okay, I could affect the change in now if you're a cop and you unrightfully so killed a black citizen, you should be punished for it. Yeah, but there are also other change that, you know what, not just about cops. There's also change within the communities and things that, you know what, we have to go at that could affect bigger changes within the community. So that's what I'm saying, where it's about also leadership. And that's where I'm seeing, like, let's show better leadership. Let's show, things that, you know what, there's more to care about. There's also more issues than just one. And that's what I'm talking about, where I feel like, does it matter in totality? Does Black Lives matter in totality? Because when you only think about one problem and you're done, well, then you're it's a ineffective leadership. That's what I'm saying, right? At the end of the day, where I'm saying as the movement, that's ineffective leadership, because you think you could just toss up your hand. Oh, I'm good now. If it's not another cop doing it, I don't need to talk more about it. But if it was a cop doing it, I want to protest to the cows come home. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I think the leadership, just like I said with Chicago, the leadership is faulty and it's ineffective because it's not going at the you're a leader, so you should be your followers need more than just one thing. That's the price. That's the responsibility, accountability of being a leader of something. And that's what I'm saying. These movements, well, ineffective leadership. And I'm saying, like, these leaders I saw were women. At least what I saw, because I'm saying, like, I'm saying, like, women. Well, I mean, even in Chicago, it's a black man, right? But it's a black Democrat. I'm sorry, I've turned Republican. Well, I wouldn't say I'm a Republican, but I'm definitely not a Democrat. And I can tell you this: years ago, I was, but I've learned that they're terrible leaders. Okay. they're supposedly too soft, right? Because again, he changed laws on crime. Well, look what happened.
Well, before, I don't know. I'm asking. I probably have to do some research on this. Before those laws were changed, I'm not saying it was right or wrong to do it, but how many incidents of violence occurred?
I don't know. Okay, let me say. I'm assuming, like, that fine. Laws like that changed probably because proportionally there were black people getting arrested, and
not even. Well, yeah, it always is. It always is us, but like, it really is. But like, so in Philly, there's a lot of traffic violations that would usually get you pulled over.
Yeah.
That you don't get pulled over for anymore. Right?
I know. I hate. I'm sorry. I hate. Okay. I don't want to incriminate myself, but if I could, in a perfect world, I would run some people over. Because like I hate the motorcycles, those motorbike people. God, I hate that.
Broken tail lights. I don't know about not wearing your seatbelt, but like things like failure to signal, or certain things you won't get pulled over for anymore. It doesn't mean that it's legal. They might get your license plate. You might get fined. But the reason they did that was to limit the interactions people have with police, because too many of them were turning violent or dangerous, right?
I don't know if you ever want to, right? Let's say this, right? Again, I have a bigger stance on police, and I see the root of the problem. We could always talk about more police in future episodes, because it could be, it could be the thought. I don't know about you, right? But you could always bring up like a question that we could talk about, because I view that there is a problem within police system, right? I agree, and I see it, and
I don't want to bring up just to point fingers at police, but it's weird that the problem creates more problems, right?
Yes,
so you have a community that needs policing, but you can't trust the police police the community.
No, I agree.
You do.
I first of all, I don't believe in defunding police. I believe in restructuring or re-educating the police. I believe in stricter education, stricter what is it? Picking of police, hiring a police officer. Yeah, I believe in that, but no. But that could be a conversation. That could be about that. Yeah, that could be another hour with that one.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but again, it's just at the end of the day, it's about. I go back to it, right? I'll go back to it's about image. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna always try to get you on board with this, where I believe it is about image.
Okay.
And I want us to help facilitate it. I don't know how big we will be in the future. Probably not big, but again, I want to not be a what is it? Just compliant or not or ignorant to what's happening in society, where people ignore stuff like that, where people don't bring up how we are portrayed. Again, my thing is I hate when, and I've had it too, Asian friends making Asian jokes, saying using the Asian
fake accent or whatever.
I think that's disgusting. I do not condone it. Because why? Because again, it's portraying us as all immigrants, portraying us as uneducated or just straight out off the boat. And I think what does that help? That's not, again, I guess that's funny, but that's not funny to me. And I'm not gonna be compliant and just be fine with that, because again, I believe that's the problem, where we could go to a slippery slope. And I think that's the difference, right? Where I believe Asian people are brothers and sisters to Black people, in the sense that we are struggling as well. But the difference is that we still have kind of a community. Even in America, we have that community where we don't condone that stuff. We don't. Being a terror. Again, I don't know about you, but in Asian community, face is very, very important. And I think that's something we pass down. We should pass down, because you looking terrible to other people will affect your community. So in essence, you gotta think about you as a Black person. You see it too. Do you tell me you don't see so many Asian criminals? You don't, especially when they will go crazy to paint any minority as a bad image. Well, why don't you see other Asian people like that? And I'm not saying we never see it, because I've seen some, but I said it's not as rampant. Because why? Because we know that being such a bad look on your community, your whole community will shit on you, right? Because you've been outcast within your community, right? Your parents will like be ashamed of you. Your kids will be ashamed of you. Your uncles, your aunts, strangers who don't even know you will like point at you and be ashamed at you. That's the thing where I believe that where I want, why, you know, me and you, I believe we're like brothers, where I want to like, you know, you see that point where, you know what, that's something we should have, you know, where my son will know that you don't like just disrespect police officer just to disrespect police officer. Because why? Because you represent me too, right? I don't want to think that, oh, that's not how I taught my son. That's the thing where we're talking about, right? Where the destruction of black families is that there's no men, and showing that where the discipline, the respect, the passing down of tradition, the learning of authority, you know, where, you know what, yeah, black fathers, I believe that they don't want to be looked bad upon, and we don't have as much black fathers as we should have, right? I don't know about your father, right? But I believe your father being religious, he wouldn't condone just having his kids have bad behavior, because that looks bad on family. And that's what I think the importance of it. And it's a detriment to black. I believe that don't quote me on it, but I believe, let's say 50 years, 60 years ago, or maybe let's say even 100 years ago. Was it 100 years ago? No, maybe 50 years ago, right? Back in our great grandparents' days, where the granddads, you know, they would not condone a bad image, because they don't want their families to be treated like that. You know, you gotta be respectful. You gotta be, you know, honoring. You can't be just like, you know, whatever, because you represent your family. You represent your community. That's what I'm talking about.
I hear you.
So I don't know, but again, it is a sad thing, and you know, seeing these images, right? Although the title is, you know, controversial, it's just that. Although I'm saying that, yeah, I say that. I'm gonna say that Black lives actually don't matter to Black people. I don't want that. I can tell you that. Right? That's the thing where that's the difference between, I'm not just saying that just to say it. I'm saying that because I don't want that. Right? I've said it before. I personally feel a part of the community, and I don't want this ugliness, you know, to continue, you know, because let me see, I want to show you something out. I'm going to show you a little bit more.
Egyptian history was always Egyptian.
This is startling. In Chicago, these are all the shootings that have taken place. These are the same shootings, but with officers involved. Do you notice any difference? Do we need more officers or less shootings? Or both? Hit that button for more.
You know, the whole state of California is a shit show. Los Angeles. I mean, you name it. The whole state is a shit show. And you gotta think, California is the most liberal state in the U.S. I mean, that's gotta say for something, you know. So it's like I don't know about you, but as I get older, I get further and further away from Democrats.
Yeah. So
and it's just
I that's probably something else we should talk about. I don't get very involved in politics.
I don't. You know, I don't too.
What's the most? How nice is it in the most liberal, in the most conservative state? What's the most conservative state?
I don't know. Texas? I think maybe Texas, or I guess maybe Florida.
It might be Texas. It could be Florida. I'm not
But
sure.
I can tell you this, right? I don't know how the everyday life, but let me tell you this. I heard that more people are moving to Texas and Florida, right? They paid the least in taxes, right? And their crime is not as rampant. That's what I'm hearing. Don't quote me on it,
Okay.
right? But I'm saying, like, I do know that, let's say Texas, people are leaving California and moving to Texas,
Texas.
right? And I know California is rampant in homelessness too. So
California is huge, and still, like, the metropolitan areas are, I'm sure, overcrowded.
yeah, and so I'm like, I don't know. I mean, like,
Wow.
tells you something, you know. But I mean, it's only surface level. But I mean, I don't know, because again, I mean, I don't like getting too political either. But it's like, at the end of the day, as we get older, you know, we gotta worry about, you know, political shit, you know. But it's like, I'm fearing for society as a whole right now. You know, that's my thing. But I don't know. Any last thoughts?
Not much. Again, I guess as usual, we agree on a lot of things.
Yeah.
A few things we might disagree on or just have different viewpoints on. I mean, it is what it is. I agree with you that image matters to an extent. I disagree with you about how much control we have as Black people over our image, and I don't think we have as much control as you think we do. But I don't want to see terrible images like that in the news.
Let me say this, right? Again, I'm gonna be controversial. I think Black people have like almost 90% control. But I can tell you this, right? No, let me say this. The issue is that, let's say this, it's the women that have that control.
You are wild.
Because look, you look at this. The View, Oprah, you name it. Anything is like, it's women, like Ebony magazine, shit like that. It's women, right? And I believe the detriment, because again, you are a religious man. The detriment is that a woman is not the lead of the house. So it's a man, because he's less emotional. He could be more rational. And the problem, let's say in society as a whole, we see women as the lead. Men not even in the background, not even in the picture. But I mean, we could go. This could be another long thing. But I'm saying, like, that's why I'm saying, like, I believe, right, in recent years, right, men are, especially Black men. I don't know how much you see about in social media, right, but more and more Black men are speaking out, right, and they're stepping up and trying to be, you know, have more of a voice. And, you know, podcasts and, you know, all these other social media stuff, men are speaking out. And I think slowly Black men are trying to make a voice for themselves, or trying to get back the public image. That's what I'm thinking about. But, and you know, it could be more. We could talk about this more, but that's why I see why you views like that. Because again, it's because of how women have helped shaped modern Black society. But, you know, but that's the thing. That's my final thoughts. You know,
I can't top it, bro.
But I don't know. Okay, I know you got things to do. You know, you got some cleaning to do. I thought it was a fun conversation. I think we need more of these conversations. But again, it's just a one faceted of this of my channel. You know, we talk about minority communities. We talk about we talk about men and women dynamics, which I still think it's all intertwines. But you know, I hope you guys stay tuned for more. Definitely, Addison still owes like some videos that
they're coming. They're coming.
To react to that. You know, will fit more of his ideology where I could counteract. So I'm definitely holding out. It doesn't, like I said, it might not happen next week, but it will happen eventually, where he has to bring up some stuff that will back up his own kind of thought patterns. Okay, so yeah, hope you guys subscribe, like, just comment what you guys thought. Definitely stay tuned for more. See you guys.